Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I want to share another interesting recipe for Russian Orthodox Easter, which is a bread. We call it Kulich. I know they call it Paska in Ukraine. And this bread, you cannot have Easter table without this bread. And this one I'm making today is gonna have a resemblance with Chocolate Babka, if you ever tried one, but it's gonna look very interesting. So let's get started. We're going to need 400 grams of flour, 100 milliliters of milk. We're gonna need 100 grams of sugar and about 100 grams of melted butter, 8 grams of active dry yeast, 4 grams of salt, and we're also gonna need some vanilla powder, about 5 grams, and we're gonna need 2 egg yolks in 1 whole egg, and I'm gonna use the 200 grams of hazelnut spread. We're gonna start by activating the yeast. We're gonna take 1 tablespoon of sugar from the whole amount of sugar, and we're gonna put the yeast in a cup with warm milk. And we're gonna mix it together, and we're gonna leave it for about 10 minutes. Then we need to sift our flour and salt together, and I usually do it on a parchment paper because this way it would be easier just to fold the parchment paper and transfer the sifted flour back in the bowl. Then we need to separate the eggs. In this recipe, we're going to use 2 egg yolks in 1 whole egg. But to make your dough a little bit more yellower, you can use 4 egg yolks instead of 1 whole egg. Next step is very important to make your dough very fluffy and very airy. We need to beat the eggs with sugar, and we're gonna do it until the mixture becomes pale yellow and very fluffy. That should take about 5 to 7 minutes. Now you can tell our yeast is active and we're ready to roll. I'm gonna use a stand-up mixer to mix my dough because the dough is gonna be a little bit on the wet side, but you can do it by hand. So in a bowl of a stand-up mixer, add your flour, add your eggs, then your butter and your yeast and milk mixture. And we're gonna start mixing it using the hook attachment. Then add your vanilla. And we're gonna mix it or knead it, I should say, for about 10 minutes, guys. Yes, we need this dough to create a lot of gluten. And when the dough becomes less sticky to your hand, and it would be easier to touch it and feel it, and it's not like really sticky, then it's ready. Dust your table or a silicone mat with a little bit of flour, and what I like to do, just kind of spread it around and move most of it on the side. Then I'm gonna transfer the dough onto that floured surface, and then we're just gonna knead it for a little bit more. It's a tradition, guys. It means that we're giving this dough a little love, and we also think in positive thoughts, and we want this bread to come out really good because it is for a very special event, which is Easter. So you need to put all your positive energy into this bread, and we're gonna knead it until it's very smooth and glossy almost, and it doesn't stick to your hands anymore. We're gonna put it in the bowl, we're gonna dust with a little bit more flour, then we're gonna cover it with Saran wrap, and we're gonna leave it to rise for about an hour and a half. And here it is, guys, the world's greatest invention, the proofing drawer or a warming drawer. You need to turn it on ahead of time, then turn it off, and then stick your bread in there for proofing. Then we need to butter our baking forms, and for this bread they use very tall forms like that, but you guys can use a paper ones that used for Panettone. And we need to melt our hazelnut spread so it becomes a little bit more spreadable. It took almost 2 hours for this dough to double in size, so we're gonna transfer it back on the floured surface. And since I'm using 2 forms, guys, one is very small, one is large, I'm gonna cut 1/3 from the whole amount of dough to reserve for a smaller bread, and I'm gonna roll out a larger piece. And guys, this dough gets to rolled out to almost like 2 millimeters thin. So try to keep it rectangular shape, and at first it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to roll it out because it's gonna kind of fight you. But just keep working the dough and then keep stretching it, and make sure that you roll it out to a rectangular form and to almost 2 millimeters thin, because yes, that's how thin we want it. Then when this dough is rolled out to a desired size, we're gonna drizzle that hazelnut spread on top of that dough. And guys, be generous with the hazelnut spread, because you know, the more chocolatey it is, the more delicious it's gonna come out. So if you see like bold spots like this, so just add more hazelnut spread to it, and using a spatula just spread it out evenly, and so we have a really good amount of hazelnut spread. Then starting from the long side, we're gonna start rolling it into a log, and just make sure you roll it tight, and then until you reach the very end. Then you can transfer it to the middle of the table, and we need tuck the ends of the dough, and we need a very sharp knife, guys, because we're gonna cut that log in half, because that's how the layers are gonna show up in our bread, by pretty much exposing the layers. And then we're gonna start twisting the side of that log, so we have kind of like a rosette, and then we go second floor with it, and then just put the rest of the dough on top of it. And of course you're gonna have sticky hands like mine, and then transfer it into a form. And here you go, guys, we're gonna let them sit for about another hour. Then put your kulich in preheated to 390 degrees Fahrenheit oven. And since we have two different sizes, we'll take 50 minutes for the large one and about 35 minutes for the small one. You can check the readiness of your bread by inserting the toothpick inside your bread, and if it comes out clean, it's ready. Then you take it out of the oven, let it cool a little bit, then you can take it out of the baking forms, and look how beautiful this bread looks, guys. It looks like swirls of chocolate layers, and it's absolutely gorgeous. There's no need to make any glaze for this bread. A simple sprinkle of powdered sugar will do the trick, and your bread is gonna look absolutely beautiful on Easter table. And I'm gonna cut the little one for you so you could see what it looks like inside. And look at this, guys, it has this wonderful layers of chocolate, and the dough is very nice and moist, and it's got a very nice chocolatey flavor. And guys, you're gonna really enjoy this bread. Thank you so much for watching. I'm wishing you and your families health and happiness and good blessings. Happy Easter. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye.